Welcome back, everybody. Another episode of the Austin Crime Report from the Austin Police Association. Myself and APA VP Tyler Latham with us again today. He's back. He's been doing things. That's right. Several things have been going on lately. It's been a busy week so far.
It really has.
It has. But one of the biggest things that we wanted to talk about real quick was something that we participated in yesterday, which was I went and participated with Governor Abbott and Senator Huffman and Representative Smithy, who are carrying a package of bail reform bills in the legislature right now. And there was a roundtable ahead of time, and then there was an actual press conference afterwards. And it was very interesting listening to the conversation ahead of time. There were a lot of victim families that were there. And unfortunately, though no surprise, a lot of victim families from Travis County. And some of them are recent cases, some are ones that have been going on for a while. But just hearing a lot of the stories where people they've lost loved ones. Right? We're talking about individuals who have been killed, or there were other cases of sexual assault, shootings, all this other kind of stuff. And how when they've been trying to interact with the DA's office, they've gotten little acknowledgement and little coordination from the DA. And it's just, first of all, just the fact that a victim family can't get a lot of the support that they really need when they're going through one of the toughest times was extremely disappointing. But the theme that just kept coming up over and over and over, and is something that we have seen, is that with the DA's office, it's not just here in Travis County, but that's obviously in Austin. That's what we see the most. But the theme is too little, too late. We have someone who's committing crimes over and over again. They get released on bond and they're out, they're free, or even worse, their cases are dismissed. Nothing happens with them and they just opt not to do anything with it. And then people go out and they reoffend and they do something worse. They're escalating. They wind up moving up to actually shooting people, and people are dying as a result of all of this. And then the DA may do something. But then, even then, and it's not just the district attorney, it's judges too. It's judges that cause a lot of these problems as well. But even if it does go back up, one of the latest examples we saw was from one of the shootings that happened. I believe it was the one that was at a 35 and MLK, where he had his bond reduced. And then because the DA was missing deadlines, but the bond got reduced, huge public outcry on it. And then the bond goes back up, but now it went back down. It down to $100, I think is what it is.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And so even after these horrific things are happening, there's still not really the follow through that needs to be there. So all of these things just keep, and again, it was just heartbreaking to hear all of these stories where all these low bonds, repeat offenders, all sorts of kind of stuff. It's just re-victimizing the people who are already dealing with the worst imaginable scenario where you've lost a loved one or you yourself have been made a victim as a result of poor decisions by a prosecutor or judges. And it was just eye-opening to see how much bail reform really is needed. And detectives see it day in, day out, where they work hours upon hours. They're talking with victim families. They're trying to work through all this stuff. But at the end of the day, it's like your work product gets thrown out the window and they just default towards whatever's best for the individual accused of the crime versus the victim who is suffering the most from the crime.
And that's who's supposed to be representing the victim or the victim's family for those that have been murdered, is the law enforcement side of things. So the officers were supposed to be trying to solve the crime, work for it. That's what the detectives spend so much time doing, and get that person that is alleged to have committed the crime to be held accountable for their actions. And the prosecutor's office and the judges should also be on that side as well. The concerns of those victims and their families should weigh heavily on them. Doesn't mean that the people that are accused of things don't get rights. They have their rights and they should have their day in court. Yeah. But when we have someone that has repeatedly shown that they are going to continue to commit crime, and then we just let them out on bond over and over and over again. We're not talking about the one-time person that this is their first time ever getting arrested. I don't expect them to lock them away and throw the key away, right? But they should be held accountable. And when you have these multiple offenders, multiple times, obviously a small bond isn't working.
Right. Well, and even then, the other one that comes to mind too is one of the last, not the one that just happened, but late last year when we had an officer-involved shooting. And in that case, it was an individual who'd been arrested. I believe he'd been arrested for family violence strangulation, which means that he quite literally choking out a family member.
Right.
And like that's not a minor offense. That's a serious offense. And was given a bond, was out, and then that whole series of events where he winds up carjacking people. He goes to one of the family members' house and kicks in a door where he has guns on him, and then when officers go to confront him, he pulls a gun on them. And then it forces a deadly encounter. Like there are very real consequences to these decisions, but it seems like I don't know if they're isolated, if they're just acquiescing, or it's hard to wrap. I'm having a hard time wrapping my mind around exactly why we think that, or these judges think that these low bonds, and DA think that leniency is going to solve anything, because all it's showing in the practical world is that things become more violent, not less violent. And it should not be a political issue. Right? This should not be a politically divisive issue, whether you're, Democrat, Republican, independent, whatever. It shouldn't matter, because at the end of the day, this is just about public safety. Crime knows no demographics. Nope. It doesn't know your political affiliation. It doesn't know, when you're talking about these violent crimes often, there are politically motivated attacks that come, by all means, that is a thing, but anyone can become a victim. And so making sure that violent offenders are held accountable should very easily be a bipartisan issue. And I would love to see a lot of this bail reform pass, because there's got to be some standard put in place. There's just, it's way too open-ended right now, and you get varying standards from the counties and, from one county to the next. So,
and that needs to be a little more consistent within our state, that it shouldn't be, hey, if I'm in Travis County, we've been officers for long enough. I've talked to plenty of people. They're not worried when they get arrested in Travis County, because they know the judicial side of the house is going to be a little slap on the wrist, where they're going to be out of jail before I'm done with my report. And it was always funny seeing that when you would arrest someone maybe up in northern Austin, and you would turn to go north to Williamson County Jail, because that's where they were when they were arrested. And they were like, wait, why aren't we going to Travis County? Yeah. Oh, you were in Williamson County when you committed that crime. And they'd be like, oh, no. Shoot. And they, we had people crying in the back of the car, because they knew that in Williamson County, they were going to be held accountable for what their actions were. It wasn't going to be just a little, here's a PR bond on your fifth time you've, robbed somebody.
Right. Yeah. It makes a big difference when you're actually enforcing the law, and there's follow through on the back end too by prosecutors and judges. And some of the stuff that came out not that long ago, this week, actually, I believe, was from our good friend on X, the Justice Tracker. He went through. Yeah,
I wish I knew who this guy was.
I know.
I want to shake his hand.
That's right. Or her.
Or
Could be anybody.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, I have no idea.
Yeah. But going through, he was talking about a series. Go back up to the top, Christopher, because at the very top, it was talking about, it was like a robbery series, I believe is what this was. Or, all long violent criminal histories, drugs, guns, strangulation, execution style murder. That's significant. And he breaks down how you have people who have repeated offenses, that, people that are lying to detectives. You have people that are getting arrested time and time again, people involved with fentanyl, manufacturing, delivery of a controlled substance, stealing a vehicle, driving a stolen vehicle, unlawful possession of a firearm, aggravated assault, evading arrest, unlawfully carrying again. There's so many time and time again. And then you have other ones where they're doing the same thing, where they're the felony level, what we call assault family violence, but it's also assault family violence impeding breath or circulation. Strangulation is what that one is. But those are serious level offenses. And these are people that are still out on the streets. It's four or five people that all have similar charges. They have similar histories, and yet they were allowed to be back out, and then they continue to commit crime. Right. And it's boy, we're shocked with the results on this one.
Yeah. Surprise, surprise. Yeah. And you look at on the right of those columns, it shows what happened with them. And many of them dismissed, or pled down. So it says some of them shows what their bonds were. And you're like, that's all the bond was on this violent felon.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's the problem. And it's not, this isn't their first time. This is, they've been around the block a few times.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just wild to see how much of a how many second chances? I don't know. We're up to like 10 different chances people are getting now before anything may actually happen. And it's just incredibly disappointing, and it's only just making everything worse.
Yep.
Like, leniency is not solving any problem because there's no alternative. They're just letting people back out and then like, oh, it'll work itself out. No, it won't. Like, it's working itself out by making more victims, right?
Yep.
Like, it's just it's swinging way too far to one extreme.
Yep.
Oh, it's just,
and it just leaves the victims laying there. All those crimes have a victim attached to them.
All of them do,
and they're not getting justice for what happened to them.
Yeah, like one thing that I do kind of want to say for like general public, try to everybody to kind of understand is that yes, for officers, this is frustrating. But one of the biggest reasons it's frustrating is not so much because the officers are worried about like their own personal feelings towards all of this. It's because we see that every single one of those crimes has a victim. And we talk to those victims and we interact with them and we see firsthand their immediate and long-lasting, typically, frustrations with what happened to them. And so officers get tired and weary because they're getting that exposure to the victims and experiencing their frustrations. Like, that's why it's such a major issue to us, is because it's an impediment to us being able to do our job, which is keeping the community safe. And we deal with the people who have had their safety violated by somebody else, and then that other person who had no regard for the law faces little to no consequence, and people feel like, well, my life clearly doesn't matter because this person violated my rights, my safety, my freedom, and nothing happened.
Yeah.
So it's tragic. It really is sad. We did have there's very limited information on it right now. More will probably be coming out soon, but the other day we had, I think it was Monday, well, I guess early Tuesday morning is when it happened.
Yes.
Is when we had an officer-involved shooting that happened up north. Chief said it, but all the officers are okay, which is, we're very grateful for that. But it was another instance where we see officers have, like, when they're trying to do their job, they have extremely dangerous situations that they walk into every single day. You never know what's going to happen on any given traffic stop, on any given call, anything that you go to. You have no idea what's going to happen. And pretty much everything that happens is driven by the suspect.
Right.
We can't control a lot of what they do. We have to be responding to it. So more information will come when we do see the videos. We'll break down everything that we can on it. So probably stay tuned for more information on all of that.
Yeah, that'll be good to be able to point out some information for the public, a little bit more of what the video shows, because you just watch it if you don't know anything about law enforcement or police work.
Yeah.
You hear that phrase, routine traffic stop, which there is no such thing.
There is no such thing.
And this is an example of that.
Yeah. And ultimately, like, the most important thing really is, like, for us in particular, is the officers are safe. They handled the situation. They did a phenomenal job. And hopefully we'll be able to show you more information about all of that here, soon as it gets released. But a couple other things that I want to highlight, though. We'll talk about first I'll talk about the Wanted Wednesday. We do that every week from the Capital Area Crime Stoppers. This week we have Cristian Gamez, who has a warrant for evading arrest or detention with a vehicle. Basically, think of pursuit. Think a pursuit happened and someone takes off.
Yep, fled in his car.
That's right. So this is a case from last year, but it's Christian is 32 years old, 6 foot 1 inches tall, and about 282 pounds. So if you know where he is, have information about where he is, or you see him, call 911 if you see him. Do not approach him. Otherwise, you can give tips anonymously through Crime Stoppers, and all the information is there on your screen for you. The positive things that I would like to highlight first of all is I got to go to an event today that was hosted by the 100 Club and honored a whole bunch of first responders from all across Central Texas. It's a great event, but they also recognized our patrol K9 team, who does a phenomenal job. It's an excellent team. I don't want to give you too much credit, but it's a pretty good spot to come from, Tyler.
It's true. I'm a little biased because I worked in that unit as a handler, and then I was also a supervisor of that unit. They do fantastic work training their dogs, getting those dogs to help apprehend subjects that and locate people. So these violent criminals that we're talking about, a lot of times they run from the police, and these dogs are trained to find them.
Yeah.
And they do an outstanding job to help also just lower the risk to officers, lower the risk to the public, because they're a deterrent for further action. Like, people don't want to mess around with the dog. So
Yeah, exactly.
most of the time they just surrender and give up when the dog locates them. So excellent job to them. Well-deserved award.
Yeah, absolutely. They do outstanding work. So, and then the employee of the week for the department was one of our officers, John Sevier, who someone wrote in. It was a mother who wrote in about an interaction that Officer Sevier had with her son, who was dealing with a crisis specifically related to some substance abuse issues. And Officer Sevier went above and beyond, being empathetic, expressing his support, staying in contact, like working with the mother to try to give her as much information as she possibly could. So really went like above and beyond. And we say it all the time, but he did outstanding work in making sure that he reached out, took his time, did everything that he's supposed to do. It happens all the time.
Yeah,
lots of people do the exact same thing. But
to volunteer to go into treatment, and that's what we care about.
Yep.
We care about people.
Exactly. But awesome work. Very proud of him.
Well
proud
done.
of our officers. But that's what we got for you now. Stay tuned. We'll probably have, like, depending on when the video is updated, we'll probably have a special for you where we talk a little bit about the officer involved shooting. But until then, y'all stay safe, stay alert, and stay tuned.